We know that orcs don't care about rust or how their equipment looks, just that it functions. So let's paint up an orc boy in a rusty scheme. Welcome to Watchfire Hobbies. Grab a brush, settle in, let's enjoy the process. The orc was primed black, and then we're going to paint him all over with Rhinox hide, the world's best brown. Our next step, we'll use Riser Rust, and this is an all-over stippling. This really gives you that orange rusty effect. Sometimes you go low heavy, sometimes you go light. It's all on you, but make sure you try to get everywhere that you want it, especially metal pieces. My original army with this used black orc bodies, so I had a lot of metal and there was a lot of rust. Now that it's dried, you can see that the orange really did desaturate, so it's not as bright. There are still a couple pigments that are bright. The next thing we're going to do, though, is hit lead belcher and just do a downward dry brush on all the parts that we want to have the rust. This provides that sharp kind of metal edge. You can come back in and do typhus. I didn't with this model because it is a smaller model. On bigger rusty pieces, I usually come in and do some stippling of typhus. I've used this across a Necromunda board, and just doing this really provides that rust base, and your eye reads it as rust that you really don't want to touch. And there we go. Our next color, we're going to use Caliban Green. This is going to be our orc flesh base. I prefer my orcs to look a little bit more darker than, the super bright green that I've seen recently. That's personal preference. You can always look up another orc skin recipe and find which one you like. This is mine. Now I'm not being super careful here. I'm going to come in, I'm going to do the teeth with a bone color. I'm just trying to get this base color down. It is an orc, so it can be a little messy. So for the pants, we're going to use Chorus Black, nice dark charcoal. Really like this paint. I've been using a lot more. Kind of a newer paint for me. Still like it. So this scheme came about as a result of me taking my old Black Orc Warhammer Fantasy models and converting them into my knobs, my tank busters, and other, more characterful orcs, I'd say. I believe some of them are actually Storm Boys. My favorite model, though, I took was for the tank busters. I clipped off the head of the great axe that the Black Orc had, attached the tip of a Manticore rocket to it to have that tank buster hammer. So next we're going to hit his shirt with corn red. Now, my old orc army for fantasy was all red and black. That's really why I'm sticking mostly with that scheme. The Black Orcs really were heavily armored and stuff. That's why I really leaned into the rust belt theme, as I'm calling it. I liked those models. It was super fun to kit bash. I actually just remember kit bashing them with anything I had. I really liked that. And that's what I think orcs really were for me, is just a chance to kit bash and throw random models from fantasy and 40K together and actually have an army. We're using Morghast bone for all of the bone and anything cloth. I'm going to come back in and hit it, the cloths, the wraps, the straps on his shoulder, all that. I'm going to hit that again with Gorgunter fur, kind of an orangey, rusty color anyways. I think that really will tie the model back together. I'm going to leave his teeth, nice and, bone color, because, that's currency to the orcs, and you don't want to mess with their currency. So I'm trying to actually hit these under wraps too. Not sure how visible they are, but it is good to have everything look at least the same kind of leather. And now we're going to add the Gorgunter fur. I like this. It's an orangish brown. It really should tie back into the rust. I know some people have used this as opposed to the Rhinox hide and Riser Rust that we did in the beginning. I've seen people use this for rust effects. I haven't really played that much with it, but I have seen some people do it. I like my rust, but let me know what you guys think. Would you use Gorgunter fur for rust or the Riser Rust and Rhinox hide? We're going to use Castellan Green over all of his skin tone as a highlight layer, I guess is probably more correct. We won't be going and doing the next layer of highlights. This is really the final part of the skin tone, and I really like how it comes out. So I am trying to leave the Caliban green in the recesses, really, kind of have that. And, the orc does have very flat muscles, which allows really this Castellan green to be painted on and really showcase, the two green. Like I said, I think this pops. I think this actually works really well as a skin tone for orcs. This boy is ready to roll. Base is done with our urban scheme, blacks and grays. Hit the nice molded skulls. Other than that, let's look at the big reveal. This boy was super fun to paint. He actually fits right in, I think, with my rusty kind of Necromunda terrain. I did hit his eye with red. That's what the rest of the orc boys have. So he's got the one scarlet eye. Thanks for spending some of your hobby time with me today. And until next time, enjoy your hobby.